Mozambican port town of Mocimboa da Praia has seemingly been taken over by insurgents aligned with terror group Islamic State. The terrorists released a series of images which show security forces who have been killed and claimed the carnage. The insurgents' efforts to capture the port began earlier this month and managed to capture most of the town quickly. At the bay, the Navy kept the fight, but apparently ran into trouble once their ammunition ran out on Tuesday. Northern Mozambique has been troubled with insurgency since 2007, and the issue is only getting worse as the IS soldiers gain more territory. To discuss the history of this insurgence as well as the impact it has had on the region, we will be joined on Skype by Jasmine Opperman, who will be joining us a bit later on, who's an Africa analyst for the Armed Conflict Location and Event Data Project. And then we'll also be in conversation with Johann Smith, a former soldier and now an independent researcher of conflict zones. And Johann joins us now. Good evening and welcome to African Perspective, Johann. What do we make of this insurgents in Cabo Delgado, and also taking into consideration that you have Mozambique that has taken over as the chairman of SADC?
Yes, that's happening on Thursday. Now, firstly, I just want to say that Mozambique is a post-conflict country, and a lot of people tend to forget that. They've been in conflict on and off for almost 55 years now, and they are battle-weary. They just cannot take it anymore. And I think it's really sad what's happening. We saw in 2017 with that first attack on the 5th of October in Cabo Delgado, where the town was taken and the insurgents subsequently withdrew. That was the start of the insurgency. Unfortunately, not a lot of people wanted to believe that it is going to become a problem, and we had a criminal narrative that continued until we had the official entrance of IS through their franchise ISCAP on the 4th of June last year. Now, since then, there was a rise in incidents. Now, if you take the counter-insurgency as what we have here, it's classical. It went through all the stages from the initial phase up to the terror, through the terror phase, and then we've got a full-scale insurgency at this point. Now, I must also say that there is social issues at play as well. It's not only the ISIS extremist ideology that is at play here. I must also say that we have the largest direct foreign investment project at Afungi, at Palma. It's about 70 kilometers from Mocimboa da Praia, that was taken yesterday. It's a $60 billion project. So it is crucial for the region that stability is paramount for this project to continue. Now, you would ask me why Mocimboa da Praia? Why was it targeted? Yep. Now, this is the 4th time that it's been taken by the insurgents. Now, Mocimboa da Praia, it's got a harbor, a port that's being used by all the oil companies and service companies for the project 70 kilometers north in Afungi. So, basically, the only road to Palma goes through Mocimboa. So all the roads are cut at this point. And I've been saying since 2017 that apart from the local grievances, that this is not only a Mozambican problem, it's a regional problem. Yeah. And we do see it now. And we were all very frustrated with both SADC and the AU for not addressing the problem. And now with Botswana taking over the security organ, I'm not sure whether that would be a good thing, because we need proper leadership and decisions to be made now. And and it is true that Mozambique must ask for SADC before they can react.
Yeah.
But I mean, we almost 3 years down the line, and the SADC security organ has not done anything.
Yeah.
And now it is also not South Africa's responsibility alone. As I said, it's a regional problem, and it should be addressed that way.
Okay, let me bring in Jasmine into the conversation now.
Okay.
Jasmine, good evening and welcome to African Perspective. The point that Johann raises around Troika, and there was a meeting in May, and the decision was taken there, at least that SADC's political defense and security organ met in Harare and gave the green light for its members to provide military assistance to Mozambique. But we don't know exactly what that military assistance is and how it would find expression in trying to, to make sure that the region is not destabilized by ISIS.
I think I have to agree with Johann on the point of a lackluster response. I think we are seeing acknowledgements. We are seeing statements of taking the ISIS threat seriously. But we sit with a problem in the region. We don't have a regional force. We don't have capacity or capability, nor do we have the finances for a sustained intervention. And that has to be taken into account. I agree, there is an urgent need, but again, if we are going to step on Cabo Delgado's soil, like Johann has explained, there are dynamics at play that needs to be understood. We sit with a Mozambican government force accused of massive abusive behavior. We're sitting with a mercenary group involved, which is contrary to our policy. So how are we going to go around all these issues and have those forces as our compatriots on the battlefield? If we don't do this in a strategic, regional manner, we are going to become part of the problem. But an intervention is needed. Damn if we do, damn if we don't.
But why has it taken so long, even for the African Union, to actually acknowledge that there is instability in the Cabo Delgado region, in the northern parts of Mozambique? That only came earlier this year in February. The same with SADC, only now in May.
There are several reasons. One is if we look at the Mozambican government's response to the insurgency initially, it was denial. It does not exist. Then it became bandits. Then it became organized crime. It was only now that the Mozambican government is waving the Islamic State flag that everyone is taking note. But yet again, the Mozambican government is blaming foreign forces only. And Johann has explained there are local roots here to be acknowledged. So we are sitting with a Mozambican government that still relies on its own forces, that remains fixed on protecting its own sovereignty. And I think that causes a complete misunderstanding of the insurgency and underestimating the escalation of violence we are seeing now.
And I think that's especially expressed now in the statement that they've just released after the port was seized, in that they're arguing that the situation on the ground is fine and everything is under control. But how can we make such an argument when people are being killed? And what Johann explained earlier on as well.
There is, and I would like to hear Johann's comments on this as well, because according to the information from ground level, is that it is not under control. How can you lose a port? How can you lose a district capital being attacked for 4 times, and you say it's under control, and you lose approximately 50 soldiers in one attack? It is not under control. But the government has to project this in terms of the LNG sector, and I'm afraid we are going to see security corridors in Cabo Delgado, where the LNG sector will be protected at all costs, and the people of Cabo Delgado beyond that will not gain the priority it deserves.
Okay, Johann, let's have your take on that. And also, what can be done to quell the tension?
I also agree with this, that I could not believe when I saw that statement by the Ministry of Defense this evening on that the situation is calm. I can categorically state that since last night, the port has been taken. The Mocimboa, all the villages around Mozambique, all the access routes are controlled by the insurgents. And I'm talking about 1,000+ insurgents at this point. So we really do have a problem. With regard to what can be done, we do have a PMC there, and I do think that the PMC comes under a lot of scrutiny and a lot of criticism, but it's all the Mozambicans have at this stage. I think that they've done a commendable job under very difficult, trying conditions. But we need, well, it is true what Jasmine said as well in terms of the finances, and South Africa hasn't got the capacity to support operation in Eastern DRC and in Cabo Delgado. So it's going to be either or, and but we absolutely need foreign intervention, and I know that the Portuguese they would get involved, but unfortunately, being the colonial master, it would not happen. But you can look at countries like France, the US, the UK. Taking this a lot more serious, especially after what happened over the last 10 days.
Let's just quickly, Johann, in a minute, what risks lie ahead for South Africa, considering that you had this statement that was also issued that if South Africa tries to interfere, that the ISIS would also attack the country within its borders?
Okay, with regard to this, and I know there's a lot of people that will differ from me, but one thing is true. Since the 4th of June 2019, when ISIS got involved, the incidents went up, and with that, we saw initially Lancaster 6 that brought in the 2 Gazelles in gunship helicopters in end of August, and they were subsequently replaced by the Russian PMC Wagner. Which didn't do well. But Wagner, if I can quote Stieg Larsson, they kicked the hornet's nest. And you've had an influx of foreign fighters coming to fight the Russians. And they are still there. And you saw a total change in the way the insurgency and the insurgent operations were being conducted. And you saw the cells operating in bigger groups, taking major towns. Okay, they couldn't occupy them for long times, but the whole strategy changed, and there is definitely foreign intervention, especially in the leadership part of it. So that's why I'm very concerned about the fact that Mocimboa is under the insurgents' control, and if the Mozambican government forces, the Navy, does not control dhows and ships coming into Comores into Mocimboa to supply the insurgents, we might have a problem. It could be a bit more permanent. It could become a base for the insurgents.
Okay, Jasmine, unfortunately, Johann, we're running out of time. I just need Jasmine's quick comment on this as well, because Jasmine, you had said earlier on that statement on the website was largely propaganda. Do you still hold that view, considering the arrest of some members who are assumed, or suspects assumed to be linked to ISIS about when was it, last month?
It was last month, Al-Naba, in which it was stated that South Africa will be targeted. The reason I said it is propaganda is because of the responses to Al-Naba. We need to understand that the Islamic State has an expansionary ideology, that it has shown its ability to adjust its extremist ideology to local conditions, and the threat itself has to be taken seriously, but in the context of Southern Africa.
Okay, thank you so much. That is your Jasmine Opperman, the Africa analyst for the Armed Conflict Location and Event Data Project. We were also joined earlier on by Johann Smith, a former soldier and now an independent researcher of conflict zones. So we've come to the end of this evening's program.